Yeah, one of the toughest things about doing what I do sometimes is being so far away from some of the people that I love. So anyway, my little girl's 7 years old today, and she's she's over in New Zealand. So I think she's just woken up. So I think that really made her morning. So thank you everybody very much. You know, I'm always very honoured to sort of come into a city, wherever it might be, and realise that a whole bunch of people turn on that little box in their house and watch me do my thing, and in some way it moves you, and then we come to this situation where I can talk to you face to face about that process, and you know, so to each and every one of you, thank you very much. I'm very humbled and privileged to have your attention. Thank you. I don't want to leave you up there with that shaky shirt on for too long. I don't think you're going to put one on.
I'm really warm, actually.
Yeah, brother. Yeah. Hey, brother. So, you got a question?
I do have a question. I'm a huge Spartacus fan, and I started watching that show because I heard it was really awesome. And when I first started watching it, it was like, you know, it was an awesome gore fest, and then plenty of nudity, and it was like rad. But there was a point.
I'm glad we could provide.
There was a point around like episode. I also actually should say that I think because of you, I now open my eyes really wide when I get mad. I'm going to give you credit for that. So, man,
yeah, it's called puka, because I'm a New Zealand Maori, you see. Exactly, brother. That's exactly it. It's opening up your whole spirit, your whole being, and magnifying it through your eyes. That's it, brother.
Anyways, so I was wondering, around I'd say episode 4, I started to sort of realize that it wasn't just an awesome show. It was like up there with Twin Peaks and like my favorite shows I'd ever seen. And by the end of it, I was like, this might be my favorite TV show I've ever seen. So I was wondering, in order to get you to kind of maybe talk about Spartacus a bit, at what point did you realize that you were working on something that wasn't just probably awesome, but like really special?
Yeah, you know, I mean, episode 4 was about the turning point. You know, we were pretty much hit pretty hard by the media critics when our show first came on. You know, because you know, when you talk about gore and nudity, those two things, when it hits usually your general media, they like to usually play on it like it's a negative, you know, and somehow we took all of those components and turned it into really watchable, enjoyable drama that had really well-established characters and relationships. You know, one of the proudest things I have from the show, really, in terms of how I got to play Crixus, was, you know, personally the colours that I have in my palette as an actor. You know, I could express them all. You know, I don't think there was any direction that I wasn't pushed to in that series. And, you know, as an actor, I was just so privileged to have that opportunity. You know, but on episode 4, you know, my favourite scene, and for those of you who haven't watched Spartacus, you know, so we're going to talk about this for a little bit, but, you know, if you haven't seen it, go have a look. Episode 4, when Barker's death, you know, was just, I mean, to me, that scene with the music, you know, just the intensity of Nick Tarabay betraying him, you know, just all this stuff that was going on, and you know, his lover, you know, Pietros, you know, completely oblivious to the fact that he you know, basically set him up for death to be killed. You know, I mean, the way that scene played, I remember just being haunted by that scene, and knowing that was really top class, you know, collaboration of all the elements, music, filming, acting. You know, it was just wonderful. So yeah, so it wasn't, you're right, 4 I think was a turning point for us, and I think at that point as well, a couple of critics started saying, ooh, something's going on with this show.
Did you kind of realize that while filming, or did it sort of come when you watched it yourself? Or?
Well, the thing is we're all the way over in New Zealand filming, okay? And the response, in terms of the global response, really didn't start happening until probably a year or so later, because a lot of territories got it later. You know, some territories got it like in a PG version. Australia got the PG version. I mean, literally, it was like watching. I'm not going to put that. But you know, I mean, it would get to a point where somebody would get a sword, you know, through them, or the head, and it would cut. Or, you know, somebody go to walk out and they'd actually put a fuzzy thing. Like it'd be on their screen, like there'd be this little moving in front of the genitals, you know? So you know, it really took some time, mate. We were underdogs for such a long time. I mean, if we'd been on HBO, we really would have been a different, completely different reception to our show. But being on Stars, especially when it came down to Andy Whitfield as well, I mean, his unfortunate sickness. You know, at that point, there was meant to be this huge push of money going out to promote our show. And when Andy fell sick, the network completely shied away from investing money. And we almost fell over, you know, as a series, until Andy said, you know, find another Spartacus. He and Stephen tonight had a conversation, and then they started pitching the idea of going forward without Andy and having another guy play the role. And I mean, it really wasn't until the end of the whole thing, really, that everyone was sort of going, that show, you know? Because I mean, even when Liam came in, you know, you'd walk around and people were going like, oh, we don't know whether we like him as much, you know, so they had to go through that whole period with him playing the role before they really sort of felt satisfied by the whole thing. So look, just as a matter of getting through other people as well, mate, it was an incredible experience, brother. And thank you for paying homage to it. I mean, you standing there, you know, the way you are as a man, and you know, thank you, brother. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Good morning, I'm not sure.
First
of all, I want to thank you on behalf of every woman in this audience for giving us the best fantasies ever.
Oh, in Australia, they only got the fuzzy bit.
That's why we're in Canada, we get the good stuff. I have a two-part question. One, when you were studying ballet, did you do RDA? And two, did any of that influence how you moved as Crixus in Spartacus?
Oh, absolutely. You know, I mean, my dance background is really a big part of, you know, my ability to move on screen. You know, and you know, there was one scene that I did where I fought Octus in Gods of the Arena. It was Crixus's first fight, and I came out into that arena, and then Octus came out and fought me. Right? He was in the Australian Ballet. And he had actually danced with the girl that I did pas de deux work with when I was doing ballet. Pas de deux was when you dance with a ballerina. And, you know, her name was Jane Finney, so she was a principal dancer for the Australian Ballet. So when he and I did that particular fight, I remember knowing how he could just, you know, having that confidence of knowing that person next to you could move. And I mean, at one stage, he came forward with his spear and leapt into the air and did a long jeté, you know what I mean? Literally, and then they slowed that down in the Phantom camera, and it was just intense. He was right up in the air, and it was ballet. You know, and I was on the ground going, but in a way, I was dancing to his move, you know what I mean? That whole fight that I had with him was really, I loved it, you know, I loved it because I just remember just moving with him and just knowing what his knowledge was and my knowledge was about dancing. We were both incorporated and just floating around each other. There was one time where he came down and he swept his spear and I just lifted my leg up to go over it, and the whole thing was just like this. You know, it was just waves of movement, you know. And we were dancing, yeah. You know, but even Muhammad Ali said, you know, when he boxes, he dances. You know, he's dancing. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I tend to hit people. Honestly. You know, when I was in music, when I was first getting my first roles in acting, I got a role to play Mark Antony on the television show Xena. And, you know, aside making love to Lucy Lawless, you know, sorry, kid. I had to do these fight scenes, right? And we had these rubber swords, and so I looked at the stunt guys and I said, you know what? Why do we even pretend with rubber swords? Why don't we just hit each other? So they were like, okay. So we went into this fight scene and we were just, it was choreographed, but we were just hitting each other. Just whacking each other. And this safety person came on and said, whoa, stop. and they made us stop hitting each other. And jump forward 8 years, I get a phone call from Rob Tappert, who was the producer on Xena, and he's the guy that produced Spartacus. And he said, Manu, we'd like to offer you the role of Crixus, but I can't do it unless you promise me you won't hit Andy Whitfield. Now Spartacus. And I was sitting in a bird aviary in Sydney. I was in the zoo with my daughter Huia. She was in a pram in front of me, and I was rocking this pram, listening to like really surreal. It was just so surreal. It was like this really serene environment in this bird aviary, just with these birds tweeting away, and my daughter Huia. And I remember at the time thinking, how am I going to be a father to this child? I'm an actor. How the hell can I earn some money, you know? And the phone rang, and it was Rob. And he had that conversation. He said, Manu, you're not allowed to hit Andy Whitfield. I had all the time to think. And I went, okay, I promise. And he went, welcome to Spartacus. And then we started filming Spartacus. And I hit everyone. I couldn't pull back from being as real as I could possibly be in that role. I really wanted to pay homage to Crixus, you know, the man who lived in 74 BC and died, you know, in these circumstances. You know, we were acting, but we had this very, very important story to tell. And kid, I was going to tell that story as close to reality as I could. But what happened is I got a bit of a reputation for being a bit dangerous with my sword and my fighting. But the stunt guys loved it, but the producers were a bit kind of...
What is the oddest thing you've been asked to sign?
Can you sign my wife's... Some guy said that to me once. And I'm like, you guys, seriously? Are you from Capua? Yeah. No, it's funny, you know. Body parts, certain body parts are kind of strange. When the husband asks you to sign it.
Thank you.
No worries, buddy. But you know what? Rob Tappert could have asked me, because Rob Tappert cast me in Xena, where I had to make out with Lucy, his wife. And then he cast me in Spartacus, where I had to make out with Lucy, his wife. I did say to him once, I said, Rob, why don't you just invite me over?
If you were given the opportunity of any other hero, villain in the vast DC universe, who would be your first pick, other than Deathstroke?
My name is Oliver Queen. To defend my friend, I have to become something else, someone else. Yeah, no, yeah. Everybody gets their role, you know.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Hello, Slutty.
Hey, brother. How are you, man?
I was wondering if you could deliver your favorite line from Arrow with that badass slave voice.
Oh.
There you go.
Let me think. There was something... He asked me how I got off the island in a recent episode. And I said I swam. And then I said, you know, the reef cut at my flesh and stuff like that. But the Mirakuru, he healed everything, kid, except this. And I pointed a patch on my eye.
So I was just wondering, like, in Spartacus, like, from transitioning to Andy to Liam and, like, the change of characters for Navia, is that, like, hard for you after you build, like, such a strong bond in the first season?
You know, it was really just my responsibility to continue being Crixus. Because if I continued being that with them, people would believe it was them. you know, through that interaction. I remember the first scene I did with Liam. He was in a room with Katrina Law, you know, and I walked into the room, and I was like, I'd found out where Navia was. She was at a brothel. Or she'd been handed through a brothel, and we were going to go see if she was still there, or whether she'd been passed on to someone else. And I came in and I was furious, you know, because he was being sort of complacent and having a little bit of a romantic moment. I went, you know, we have to go, you know, we have to go get Navia. And I remember just sort of burning with anger looking at him, you know. And Liam was his first scene with me, you know, and he was like, I remember him sort of being a bit shocked, because we'd met and I was really good friends with Liam, you know, like, when the casting process, let me tell you about the casting process. 3 people came over to New Zealand to read for Spartacus. One of them was Liam, who got the role. The other one was Stephen Amell. I tell you, yeah, like it's so funny how which role, you're talking about roles you could get, you know. Stephen Amell almost got Spartacus, you know, but he it wasn't him, you know, it wasn't him, you know, and he's much better at, you know, Oliver Queen, that's where he should be. And the other guy was this, I won't mention names, but he was this, you know, dark-haired, kind of really good-looking guy, you know, from New York. He'd been on some show, and you know, he came over, and I actually thought he was going to get it. I thought he had something about him that was going to get him the role. But he also had something else about him, and that night he went out and got very drunk with some of the people from the makeup team and started yelling out in a bar in New Zealand, "I am Spartacus, I am Spartacus." They put him on a plane the next morning and sent him home. So then it came down to Stephen and Liam McIntyre, and Liam got the role, you know. But I remember going and seeing Liam and just saying, "Mate, let's just, you know, just find it here and we'll be fine, mate." And yeah. So you know, but I remember just you know, getting in his face on that first scene, and he was just scrambling to find the first energies, his first inklings of Spartacus, and it took him a while, to be honest. You know, Liam was 27, whereas Andy Whitfield was 37. Andy had kids. Andy had the gravitas of life, the responsibilities. You know, he had a really amazing, you know, sense of sensitivity when it came to acting. When I looked at Andy Whitfield's face, I had no control of that man, none. He was very, very cool, great looking guy, but he could sit there and look at you and just be like Sean Connery or something, you know, just be like, I'd go, "Your wife has been raped by a hunchback Roman." I can't say the next word because it's that little thing that goes like that. But, you know, I was in Andy Whitfield's face, you know, going, "Your wife's been raped," and he just looked at me and, "Crixus, no wonder you smell like a woman." He just had this, it didn't faze him, whatever I throw at him, he could just hold his own. Whereas Liam, I went in there, he was like, "Crixus," and this energy was kind of almost like he fought with me, which was a whole new thing. Andy never fought with me, Andy just said what he wanted and moved on. And it took a while for Liam to cook it, to get it cooked properly, so that he could own his space and own his character. But he got it. He got it in the end. You know, especially the last 4 seasons of the whole show, The War of the Damned. Liam was on fire. I remember coming over the table in one scene talking about what we had to do, and he came back at me and said, "No, this is what we have to do." You know, anybody who watches Spartacus, do you remember that scene in it was like the second last episode that I think I was in, and it was just but you know. Navia's, 2 different women. I was really happy to get Cynthia on board, but when Cynthia came on, because her and I just got along so well, like just magically, like she was a great friend. Not that the first Navia wasn't as well, but you know, she was a tough girl to be on set with. It was always about her. Which, you know. She's a great girl. But we never had a laugh. And Cynthia and I had just had a laugh the whole time, and I really enjoyed just having that fun on set. Except for the final scene. And you know the final scene in Spartacus where I got my head cut off, right? And I had no choice for that scene. I hadn't, as an actor, I hadn't figured out how I was going to die. I had no idea how to do this, you know, and it was like, you know, it was like the young kid Tiberius was going to be the one who cut my head off, and I spoke to the director, and the director told me his vision of my head being cut off and being in Navia's eye, and you know, I thought, wow, that's really poetic, and I thought, well, it's all about her eye, isn't it? It's all about what she's seeing. That's what the, you know, and then I sort of spoke to Cynthia just before I went on set to do the shot, and she said, and she was really emotional, and I said, what's up, darling? And she went, oh, I'm just feeling really emotional about the scene. I'm sort of, you know, going to base it upon her father had just passed away like 6 months ago. And I knew how much that had affected her, you know, I knew how painful it was for her. You know, people just hide that, you know, people just don't, you know, on a professional acting set, you know, you're not going to go on about stuff like that, but I knew it was really something that was really deep in her heart. And now she was about to let that out in a performance. And like I was saying to you, you know, sometimes it's difficult to do this, you know, and you put your whole heart into it because you got to, you know, you do resource stuff. You know, some people call it method acting, you know, other people sort of, you know, method acting is a bit selfish, it's a different kind of thing, but you know, finding those emotions and just, you know, putting them in place, it takes a lot of courage sometimes, and it can be painful. And she was going through that, and I remember at the time just realizing I didn't have to make a choice about me. I had to make a choice about her. I had to be there for her, because she was going to go through that. And at the time thinking, like, you know what, it's so appropriate, just don't, you know, I mean, if you're Crixus, you're going to die, and this is your Navia. She's the one who has to live with it. So I remember just looking at her and just thinking, Cynthia, your dad, you know, I get it. And she was just weeping. And I just looked at her, and I remember just trying to just look at her with the most even, supportive gaze that I could give her, so that I could say to her, I understand, darling. All this crazy, surrounded by all these cameras and everything. And here you are weeping for your father. It's going to be okay. And they shot that. It was beautiful. And it's been great. It's a great scene. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. And now she's trying to kill me on Arrow. She's playing Amanda Waller. Cynthia and I, Robert. We have to get Crixus. We have to get Deathstroke.
I'm a huge fan of you from Spartacus and even from Xena, and thank you for signing my Xena DVD. But I noticed with Spartacus and Xena, all the episodes that I seem to like the best were directed by Michael Hurst.
Yeah.
And I just was wondering if an actor-director is like the best thing to work with for a lot of those episodes, because they seem to always get out the best performances.
Yeah, you know, there's an episode can be affected in so many different ways. You know, that works. You know, on the acting level, when you work with an acting director, you know, an actor-director, you get that. You seem to notice the concentration on performance, and as an actor, you feel very gratified by that kind of attention. You know, so yes, for our personal sense of you know, we're being focused on. Yeah, someone like Michael's a great guy to work with. There's other directors who really work the shot in terms of the visual style of how they shoot, you know, what lenses they use, you know, the depth of field that they might have. You might have a crazy shot where it's all in someone's face and the background's all moving and freaking out, you know, and they're who have that vision to create really great scenes that sometimes overlooked because but you see it, you know, and then others are working with this kind of like, you know, I'd noticed that, you know, sometimes some directors would work and the music on their episodes would be epic. Somehow they would work with the guy who writes the music and make it very powerful in the sound. You know, yeah, there's you know, and those directors, I guess, the sound people like, and the ones who work with the technical frames, you know, the guys who do the set building or do the lighting, love those directors. And, you know, but as an actor, you know, when you work with an actor-director, it is very sort of about you, you know, more so. So yeah, but Michael, yeah, Michael's a lot of fun to work with. I mean, when he did that Xena episode, that episode of Xena was the only episode of Xena that got pushed from the 8:30 to the 9:30 time slot.
He seemed to like a lot of blood in that episode.
Yeah, I mean, Brutus got his throat cut, and it's an episode of Xena. You know, when his throat got cut open, and he fell back, and it all opened up, and he was like, he saw Xena upside down. the shot went upside down. He was like lying on his back anyway. I said, yeah, it was yeah. Michael's great fun. Yeah, but thank you.
All right, thank you.
Who are you? It's like Gandalf on.
Jack Frost from Rise of the Guardians.
Oh.
Also, I want to say, I hope you didn't hurt the stunt people too bad on Arrow, because I do know some of them, and they take care of my goats, so.
Yeah, well, you know, I don't really get the opportunity to hurt anybody on Arrow. But those guys are great, you know. I mean, James Michaelopoulos, who does play my double, who you'll see most of the time in the Deathstroke suit doing the fight scenes, he's just a fantastic guy, you know. And one of the things James Bamford said to me, who runs our stunt thing, he said, you know, Manu, like we can appreciate that you want to do, you know, your action and stuff like that, but stunt guys have got a job. I mean, they go and they train, and they train very hard, and their job is very difficult and dangerous, but they come on the set wanting to do their job. And when an actor says, no, I want to do my fight scenes, it's like a guy doesn't get to do his work. And James said to me, you know, because you know, my doubles just had a baby as well. I get the kids, you know, having to put the food on the table. So, you know, he said to me, you know, if you did your fight scenes, you know, James is not going to earn that money to go put food on the table at home. And I was like, of course, I get it. I'll just do the acting. You guys do what you got to do. So, hey,
this isn't so much a question as a remark, I guess. I'm an actor. I've worked in stuff here in Vancouver and on the island and such, but it's been a while that I found myself being branded, or allowing myself to be branded in roles that weren't the reason that I became an actor in the first place, if that makes sense. So I kind of let that happen for quite a while, and then I started following what you've done, especially starting with Spartacus, and then realizing, oh, I remember you from Xena even. You play the roles that I'm like, holy crap, like this is why I wanted to be an actor in the first place. And so I guess since Christmas time, around then, I kind of worked at that. I put on 10 pounds of muscle, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know, I guess I just wanted to say that you primarily have been sort of the motivation for that. So thank you.
Thank you, buddy. Look, I understand exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes, you know, I get asked the question, do you like playing the bad guy? And I don't play the bad guy. I play the guy. And the guy is, as I say, circumstances rule what happens to us all in life. If you walk out there and you get a phone call and somebody in your family's died, you know, the next part of your life is going to be this feeling. And you can't stop that from happening. It just happens. That's life. Right? And, you know, the thing about being the bad guy, or the guy that's alongside the lead guy, is that you can be flawed. And I find that the characters that I've played, like Crixus and Slade Wilson, the audience appreciates them, because I think the audience is more like that character than the hero. I mean, who here is a superhero? Yeah! Aside from you two amazing people, the rest of us are pretty vulnerable, you know? And, you know, a lot of people go into the acting field wanting to become a star, wanting to become a, you know, it's an art form that's just really about feelings about it. It's about people wanting to know who you are through that performance, and the individualism that you can bring to it with your own tone, but really just connecting to people with real emotions. You know, when it comes down to that, look doesn't even play a factor. It's just the resonance of the emotion that you bring to character. You know what I mean? Like me, because I've had a sport background, I've had a movement background, because I've got a bit of size and I do work, you know, if you've got a body that you can work, and that is an advantage in some scenarios, you know, then do it. Use your tools, find the best way you can use those tools. But keeping yourself open as a vessel of emotions that can reach out and identify with people, you know, that's just a real important thing. You know, not getting in front of that camera and just focusing so much on yourself. The more you give up in terms of your relationships with casting agents, with agents, with managers, with directors, the more you can give up and be part of that culmination, part of that grouping together, the more you'll start spreading out more. You know, that's you know, the best moments of creation, you know, as far as I'm concerned, in products that I've been in, is when there's just this complete catharsis between everybody, and everyone's just doing their job as best as they can be, and you're not being a drama queen, and you're not being sort of, you know, you're just in there accepting
Yeah,
your path, you know.
That's totally a lot of that stuff that I haven't been doing, so.
Yeah, don't worry
Thanks,
about it,
man.
mate. Don't worry about it. Just live it and enjoy it, brother. Be open. Yeah.
All right, think we're out of time.